This is Susan Mark with the Wyoming State Library. I'm the statistics librarian in our library development office. Work with Jamie Marcus here. And today we're going to talk about some good training resources for library trustees online. We have put all of this in a live binder, so the link will be available. We'll send out the link and it will be available with the recording of this. If you have a live binder account, this is public copyable, so you can grab it, you can edit your own and post your own, tweak it to your own needs if you want, and embed it. So 2 years ago, let's give a little background. 2 years ago, we updated our Wyoming Library Board Members Handbook. And this gave us a great opportunity to go look at what's out there and really think about what makes a good trustee training resource and what do the trustees need. And we recognized a lot of our library board trustees don't have much library background other than, hey, I love libraries. They don't have a lot of experience sitting on boards. This is not their day job. They're doing this out of the goodness of their heart and on their own time, so they're busy. We wanted to give them an in, a way to break it down into digestible pieces of knowledge. We wanted to keep it conversational, very little jargon, defining the jargon they would need, welcoming. We are so grateful for the work they put in support of our libraries. Some visual appeal. Ours is not terribly fancy, but there's white space, there's bullet points. It's not real text dense. Probably one of the bigger things we wanted to emphasize is to be very clear about what their roles are. Most of the heartache we see with boards is when they're not sure what their role is or they're stepping over their boundaries. So those were some of the things we looked at. And I'm going to jump ahead to something Pennsylvania did. You see the training resource kit. They did a survey back in 2005. Just take me a minute. I hope I'm not making you dizzy. And found that even the best trustees, the most motivated trustees that come onto these boards, really felt like they lacked the information they needed to be effective. Most hadn't received an orientation, they didn't understand their fiduciary responsibilities, and they wanted to be better educated. So many states have gone out and put together resources, a lot of good ones out there. By featuring the ones we're featuring today, we know that this is in no way inclusive. There are many other great resources out there. But since it's our webinar, we're going to start with ours. When we did this, our Library Board Members Handbook, we are eternally grateful to the people who did very long handbooks because it allowed us to make ours short. Again, we wanted it to be digestible. There is so much good information out there that rather than rewrite it, we got on the phone, we got on the email and said, hey, can we use this? Can we point to this? For example, for our hiring a director section, this is a good one. Utah had a great, sort of summarized it, and then we said, look at Chapter 8 of Maryland, look at Chapter 8 of Connecticut. And by giving these multiple resources really gives them different perspectives. Different states hit different aspects well. Our last update had been a while ago when we were still doing it strictly in print, and so we went to a strictly online. They can certainly print off the handbook since it's a PDF, and we were very careful where we had web links to put in the full URL so that if they did decide to print it, they wouldn't be lost. We put our supplementary materials, the full handbooks, the ones we drew from, and then we were able to add some different things by topic for, again, more in-depth information at the point of need. This allows us to really make it a living document. Anytime we find a resource that we think would be valuable, we can toss it on this page. And when we go to update our board handbook, it's going to allow us to go back and look and say, hey, what did we add? Can we incorporate this in the main handbook? So that was our handbook. A couple years ago, we did a 101 Things. And this was a really bite size. This was a print. It works much better as a print publication because it was a flip book. And if you look very carefully, you will see that our cowboy is writing that book quite skillfully. And we even say up front, there are more than 101 things you need to know, but this has it in little pieces just to say, hey, you know, a lot of times they aren't even aware of where their lack of knowledge is. Great bathroom reading because it's in little itty bitty pieces. So that was fun. We do 2 newsletters specifically for trustee members or board trustees and focusing on legal issues, policy issues on theirs. We do one for library foundations. Any of our stuff, you are welcome to steal shamelessly because we sure did. So we have a state matching program for locally raised endowment funds, and we created the foundations as sort of a support to put out training opportunities for them. Depending on how your library board foundation structure is, this may be a great resource for you. And then perhaps one of the ones people are most familiar with, our training calendar that Jamie so faithfully puts together every month. And this one we know gets reused a lot. WebJunction uses it. Washington Library Association uses it. Many other states rework it for their own libraries. These are all free ones. We made it easily shareable through Google Calendar. So that's what we are doing here in Wyoming. But as we put these things together, we certainly looked to other states. So that is what I want to talk about next. And actually, the next thing I want to talk about is video. Now, are there any questions so far? Nothing in the chat box, Jamie tells me. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is video. Video is such a great teacher. Not everybody is a textual learner. They're going to process it better with the images, with the sound. We found 3. We created one, and then we found 2 other good video series out there for trustee training. Ours is Trustee Trouble, Misadventures of a New Library Board Member, and this guy gets himself in a lot of trouble. We went a little over the top as to his mistakes because we didn't want anybody seeing themselves in this and crawling under the table. So he gets himself in trouble. It's his aunt and uncle, right? His aunt and uncle, Jamie's nodding, set him straight. So it goes over, what it means to be a member of a board, sort of orienting yourself, how to conduct yourself in meetings, the board-director relationships, policies, all of those high points. In a humorous way, there are discussion questions that go with it. These are short videos. The longest one is just under 12 minutes, and nearly all of them are under 10. It's something that can be thrown on a DVD, and this is when we are proud and happy when people use it. Some boards might consider, since they are so short, making a regular board training opportunity by showing one of them before a board meeting and then going through the discussion questions. So there's a lot of ways that these can be used. 2 other ones out there. Pennsylvania has one called Getting on Board, and we liked it so much we put it in a playlist on our site. Same general topics, a little longer. These are 8 to 18 minutes, a little more staid and sedate than Trustee Trouble. So if you have board members who are a little more serious, you can go with the Pennsylvania Trustee Training Series. Excellent series. Again, covers all the basics: hiring, relationships, PR, and marketing. Now Utah put out one. Go Trustees on Track. And what I liked about this one, these are very short. These are 2 to 5 minutes. They hit the highlights. But what I really like about this one is that the speakers on this are library trustees. So they are hearing from people who have been there, who have been in their shoes. You have a very good opportunity for peer-to-peer learning. It has a little more impact in some ways when you hear from somebody who's had the same job. Like, oh, okay, they know what they're talking about. So those are 3 great video resources. Again, these are short. a library board member can watch one of these on their lunch hour without carving out a chunk of the day. Anything?
No.
No questions yet? Please feel free to jump into the chat box if you have something, a resource that you found that you want to let us know about, or if you have any questions. So I'm going to come back to Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania has a whole, as you can see here, a whole bunch of stuff. They have a companion guide to their getting on board videos. So that's a really nice companion to the videos. Nicely done. IMLS funded. Typically, if it's IMLS funded, you may be able to borrow it. And so I know ours is borrowable. So, you know, get on the phone, and if you find something that really speaks to you, go for it. They have a Trustee Toolkit. I'm not going to click through any of the links on this one because they download, and the PDF of the toolkit itself takes a long time to download rather than opening up in a browser window. What I liked about this Trustee Toolkit, they have a series of PowerPoint presentations. So again, if boards want to create that training opportunity, if they're on a board retreat, if they just want to go through one of the PowerPoints at the beginning of a board meeting, there is this, you know, the nice visual to go with it. There is also a training resource kit, and we pulled from this one for our own board handbook. It had that survey in it we discussed. This is just, along with a lot of good information, it's really nice visually. It's kind of inspiring with the opening quote, very easy to read. Visual design, you've got good use of images. Visual design is not absolutely necessary, but it does really draw people in, and it makes it easier for them to enter the text, easier for them to really feel like they can get into it, and it makes it more accessible. So that one we used a lot of information from in our handbook. I'm going to go through some of the other handbooks that we looked at. We looked for ones that were recent. We looked for ones that provided good information and were clearly written. So Connecticut was one we pulled from. Now this is from a library trustee or library board association, which again is very nice because you have people with the experience of being a trustee who are putting this together, so they really have a good feel for what's going to be important to know. What I really liked about this one was how clearly written it was. You know, it's well organized, but the language in it was very clear. You've got, as you go into a chapter, you've essentially got the learning objectives up front, so they know what they're going to expect as they go into it. So that was Connecticut. So I'm going to talk a little bit as I do this, what particularly appealed to us about these. Iowa. You see here, this is basically their trustee resources page, and we have a few of these out there that we've looked at. A lot of these lead to the handbook, which often has the more general information, and a lot of times these resource pages have a little more of the state-specific links. I know that the next time we update, we'll probably look at some of these pages and say, are we missing anything on our state resources that we should include? But the handbook, they just updated theirs in 2014. This one is very thorough. It's a big one. But it's also, as you see, they've got this splash page where you can go into just the little piece of information you want. If you go into the full handbook, as I said, just updated, nice visually. You know, easy to go in through the table of contents. The stuff they really thought was important, they put in big bold letters. So well organized, easy to find things. And again, those of us who choose simply to point to more in-depth handbooks. Really appreciate the states that have put that together. Maryland. Now Maryland I can no longer find out on the web except on our site, and we pulled a lot from this one. So is anybody from Maryland online? Nobody from Maryland. It's still up on our site, so you can still get to it. We lifted a ton of sections, or pointed to a ton of sections on this one, on ethics, on planning, policies, meetings, the roles of board versus director, and hiring a director. So that one, that was what we kind of pulled from there. New Hampshire, again, this is a trustees association, maybe a little different perspective than a state library. New Hampshire had a really nice advocacy section that we lifted. Advocacy is so important. The trustees, it makes so much more of an impact when a trustee speaks to decision makers, speaks to the public, than when a librarian, because the trustee is the citizen representative that has less of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Less of a, it has more impact. I'm going to stop there since I can't think of the word. So that was a good one. Utah, there's their trustees center page and their manual. This is another one that was recently updated. When I called Juan Lee at Utah to ask if I could use sections of this, he not only said yes, he said, let me send you the Word file so you can copy and paste it easily. So we were pretty grateful for people who were so helpful. Utah had really good planning section. They had great policy section, good section on hiring a director, one of the most important tasks a board of trustees may find themselves faced with. Vermont was another one that there's their trustees and friends page and their manual. This one has been updated since we did ours, and we went ahead and, as ours is a document we can update anytime, we put their new one on there. Vermont had a really good hiring section. Suggested interview questions, just how to, good solid, how to hire a library director. And the last one we pulled from for our 2013 edition was the Washington Trustee Wiki. I don't know how many of you use wikis. I love them because not only does it allow you to update things regularly, but it means that if you have multiple people in your office who have information to share, you can simply give them the login, and if they mess up, you can undo it. So there's no way for them to wreck this, and it eliminates the need for one person to be the gatekeeper and one person to have to compile all the information. What Washington had that was really good was they had good information on relationships, very good information on budgets, and I really liked their overview. The bullet points, very well laid out, but probably one of the clearest, best overviews that I saw out of the things that I looked at. Now those are the ones we used. As we prepared this webinar, decided to go out and look at what else is out there because we knew people are always creating and posting these things. And a couple of the ones that are fairly recent, Maine is hot off the presses. Maine just came out in April of 2015, and this is one of those really thorough ones. So if you're looking for in-depth information, Maine is a good one, or in-depth, very current information. Again, very visual, so that people can get into it easily. And what I liked about Maine's, too, is that they had a lot of sample documents. We've had a few library director retirements, and what we get questions on are, do you have sample interview questions? Do you have sample this? So this not only has how to do an effective board meeting and how to assess your board, but some samples of board assessments that you might use and some sample format of a library budget. So it doesn't just say this is how you do it, but says here's an example, go run with it. Wisconsin is another recently updated one, and it's a thorough one. It also, they broke it down. They decided on 27 trustee essentials. We had 101 things. They got it down to 27. And so the trustee goes to this page, and they can see immediately bylaws. This is what they're going to find. They're going to find why up-to-date bylaws are needed and how your board can develop them or update them. So they boiled it down to these essentials and gave people a really good entry point into, I need this piece of information, I'm going to go look at that. Now the next two items are not, are not full handbooks, but they are resources of note that we found. One of them was Michigan. This is Michigan's resource page. And they had two resources of special note. They had a financial guide and a thing on library impact. Now, I've seen, I have gone out before when I was in graduate school trying to find information on how to build a library budget, library finances, not just like what we have in our handbook about this is when you have to get it to your county clerk in our case. But generally, how do you do the accounting for a library? This is the one that I found so far that talks in accounting terms specifically for libraries. Specifically not just for a business in general, not for a nonprofit in general, but specifically how does a library manage their financials. So I thought that was a really good resource. They also did how to tell the story of your library's impact, sort of an outcomes-based approach. We are such storytellers. Your decision makers are obviously going to want your budget numbers. They're going to want to know how many people you serve, but they're also going to want to know the story of how that affected your community. So in this case, this is a good way of saying, now how do we put this together? Giving trustees yet another tool to be library advocates. And the last thing, again, it's sort of relevant to us because we've had so many retirements recently. Montana has a very new, spring 2015, trustee training resources on library succession. Not just hiring a new director, not just what do you do in advance, but what do you do in an emergency? What do you do when your library director comes to you and says, I have a medical emergency, I'm going to be out 6 weeks, or I don't know how long I'm going to be out. So they've got a succession toolkit. Some of it focuses on, scroll down here, some of it focuses on, governance calendar, readiness, but it also talks about recruiting, talks about what do you do. And I really liked this hiring a new director resource packet. Because again, the questions we get, do you have a sample job description? What they really liked, they have a sample how you might put together a flyer to promote to people this position. And this is in PDF, so you can't simply download it from the website here and fill it out. But it's something that you can use as an idea starter. You might contact Montana to see if they have it in some sort of format that you could just use this and fill it in with your own library's photos. It gives you some ideas of what might be some good things to really appeal to a good candidate who's going to want to lead a great library.
In fact, Joe Flick from the Montana State Library is participating today in the webinar, and I can almost guarantee that she would share anything that she's put together with anyone, because that's just who Joe is.
Libraries are such a sharing community, and so much of the trustee information really is the same. Every trust board of trustees is going to have to put together policies, and we were very grateful to everyone who shared with us. And as I said, this is all going to be in this live binder, so the link will go out, the link will be up with the video. and feel free to copy it. Feel free to take and use any of our stuff. We're always happy. Do we have any questions?
No questions at this time, but this is Jamie at the Wyoming State Library, and I also want to say that we'll put a link to this live binder up on our board member handbook as an additional resource. And so you'll also be able to find it there. And the Wyoming information that Susan shared today is completely 100% free and copyable. We're happy to share it with you or send it to you in whatever format we can get it to you. So by all means, drop somebody a line here at the State Library, and we'll be glad to help with whatever we can.
Yep, you don't have to try to copy paste out of that PDF. I will happily send you the Word files. So really appreciate everybody stopping in today. Thank you for your time, and have a great one.